Your next big project is here. Make sure that weather is nice and clear.
This is the Elegant Homes Podcast with your home improvement expert, Don Riley. Don gives you weekly tips on the biggest investment you'll ever make, your home. Plus, Don talks to industry's leading professionals to make your home elegant. The Elegant Homes Podcast with Don Riley is powered by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back to another episode of Elegant Homes. I'm Don Riley, your host, and we are excited about today. You know, today is one of those days that you look outside and you say, it is here. Summer is here. You know, all the pools have opened up. All the kids are playing outside. My neighborhood is just riddled with kids all day long, riding skateboards, riding bikes. It's so good to see the sun out. And speaking of sun, when the sun comes out, the home improvement projects start flying. And that's what we're talking about today is weather. We're going to talk all about weather today. And, you know, weather controls a lot of the moving parts of the home improvement industry. A lot of things are defined upon weather, especially in the summertime when we're doing a lot of outdoor projects. So one of the things that's key to our business, whether it's a roof or siding job or window job, is watching the weather and tracking the weather. We watch this pretty often on our phone. If there's a storm moving in, one of the things we're not going to do is we're not going to install windows, we're not going to install siding that day, and we're definitely not going to open your roof up and make sure that there's no rain coming, because we do not want to cause your inside of your home to get damaged in any kind of way. So weather plays a key part of our business and in our business on a daily basis. People always say, how do you know so much about weather? Because we watch it all the time. I'm constantly in the morning and the evenings making sure one of the last things I do at night and one of the first things I do in the morning is check the weather. And if you have this app on your phone, there's a weather app, you can check that, you can monitor that. So this technology really helps us in the home improvement business. Now we're going to go back in time a little bit. Think about the 1970s, 60s, when guys didn't have this technology. So they would be in the middle of tearing off a roof, and all of a sudden here comes a massive storm, right? So they didn't have this technology, so they had to prepare for storms coming in with, you know, all kinds of protection, tarps, these kind of things, doing things a certain way because they, you know, if a storm come in, it could catch them in a pickle. Now, a lot of times today in the home improvement business, you'll see that a lot of people will start a job and all of a sudden the weather gets bad. You'll notice they'll close that job up and maybe they'll come back in the evening when the sun comes back out, or they might come back the next day. One of the things I like to do is if it's going to be bad weather that day is just not do that job, because I don't want to take a chance on getting caught in the storm. But, you know, the nice thing about all these tools that we use, these weather trackers, these apps, they're super nice because they can alert you, and you can set settings on there to alert you when the weather is coming, so you don't tear off a roof, you don't tear off siding, you don't open someone's house with new windows or doors, and all of a sudden you got a downpour. So these are all things you want to take a look at, watch for, especially if you are getting a project done at your home. Make sure the contractor you're working for is smart enough to know that there's bad weather coming and they don't want to do that project. Could save you literally thousands of dollars. We're going to take a short break right now, and we'll be right back. Are you looking for that new truck, maybe that new Silverado, or maybe even that new Trail Boss? I'm telling you, those new Trail Boss look really good. You got to stop out and see my good friend Rob Marshall at Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky. Their team is bar none the best. I've bought all my vehicles for the Elegant Home Podcast right there, and I'm telling you, these guys get it done. Have you looked at their social media lately? They are shipping vehicles out the door left and right, and I'm telling you, their vehicles are top notch. I love Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky, and I'll tell you why. They treat me and the Elegant Home Podcast like family. So stop out and see Rob and the gang, and they'll take care of you. And make sure you tell them that Don Riley, and I'm going to say it again, Don Riley from the Elegant Home Podcast sent you and your family to Rob Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
The Marshall Auto Group has grown into one of the largest dealer groups in the state of Kentucky, and we're right in your backyard. With locations in Dry Ridge, Crittenden, and Florence, we're convenient and easy to get to. Plus, we have hundreds of new and used vehicles priced to make it worth your drive. We're a family-run business, making us easy to deal with. Come see us. Marshall Dry Ridge Toyota, Marshall Chrysler Dodge, Jeep and Ram, Marshall Motors of Florence, and Marshall Power Sports. The Marshall Auto Group, easy to get to, easy to deal with.
Welcome back to Elegant Homes. I'm your host, Don Riley. We took a short break today. Today on the show, we're talking all about weather. And, it's so important that you're keeping track of weather. If you're in this business and you're a contractor and you're opening people's homes up to elements that could damage the home, you want to make sure that your first thing that you want to do is make sure you're checking that tracker and keeping an eye on the weather. So, because if you're doing a roof, and let's just say a tornado or a storm comes through. So, of course, these are all acts of God. Of course, a tornado or lightning strike to the home is going to be covered by your homeowner's insurance. But also, too, as a contractor, we carry what we call a $2 million umbrella that protects the homeowner when we're actually working on the home. And we can actually send you what we call a rider. And what the rider does is our insurance company would put your name. So if your name's Debbie Smith, we would put your name, Debbie Smith Project, at the bottom of our insurance paperwork. And then when we're on that job, you're covered up to $2 million umbrella, which is very, very nice. So that way, Debbie Smith has nothing to worry about on her home improvement job. And if lightning would hit or a tornado would come through, like I said, your homeowners would pick that up. Now, if any of the guys were hurt, that would fall back on the owner of the contracting business that's doing the job for Debbie Smith, and his insurance would pick up that damage or his guys that are on the job. And of course, sometimes if they're subs, their insurance would pick it up. So sometimes, guys on the jobs that are working for certain companies are subs. So they have to have insurance too. And these are things that people don't realize. So if Elegant Homes comes out to do a job and we have a particular job that we have to hire a plumber to come out, well, he's his own independent contractor, and a lot of times because we have to sub him out to do that job, well, he has to have his own insurance too. So now you got two insurance policies on the job, which protects you. So these are questions you want to ask your contractor when he comes out. Do you use any subs? And if you do they have insurance? Because you don't want to be caught with your pants down on a job site with something happening and no one have any insurance. So, but once again, today we're talking all about that weather. So make sure that whoever's on the job, you're asking a lot of questions, and make sure that they know to track weather, because the last thing you want to do, especially on a roof job, I've seen it happen so many times where these guys start to do the roof and it starts pouring down rain. And the next thing you know, the inside of your house is damaged. They got to replace the insulation in the attic because it got all wet. And you don't want that to happen to you, because that could cost thousands of dollars in damage. And that's going to go back on the contractor. So they're going to have to replace that. So if I'm a smart contractor, I'm always watching the tracker. As the storm's moving in, you'll hear the alarms and the alerts go off. That is an indication there is a storm coming. So make sure you're always looking out for that, watching that radar, pre-planning ahead as a contractor when you're going to do your next home improvement project. This has been the Elegant Home Podcast. I'm Don Riley, your host. Until next time, we'll see you then.